are you feeling today, and are you rattled in any way?
Yeah, I was rattled yesterday. It's not a very pleasant experience at all. But no, you have to carry on and get on with do your work. You mustn't give in to these people. No, it's a very small minority, and they most certainly don't represent the overwhelming majority of people who voted leave in the referendum. And I think it's really important that we see them for what they are. It's a very small, very unpleasant criminals bunch, a mob who have been roaming around Westminster, breaking the law for the last about a month or so.
Well, you have to make...
Really the police should have intervened. That's the problem.
Oh, are you disappointed in the police?
Oh, yeah, they made a big error. I think the Met now will do their job. I just think their view is that we don't intervene. So they stand and they watch it, but they wouldn't intervene. And I think they get that it must be right, no matter who you are. You should be able to go about your lawful business. Well, I don't have a problem, as you know, with a good, robust debate. Especially my constituents to say what they want.
Can't quite understand why Anna Soubry, because of her views on Brexit, should be called a fascist. She was called Nazi, she could have called scum. It was very unpleasant. Did you feel intimidated?
Well, I mean, it's kind of getting used to it at this point. I mean, I get abuse online every minute, racial abuse every day, threats of violence every couple of months, and in February somebody posted my home address online. This is becoming par for the course. They were getting in her face, shouting at her. They physically blocked her way into Parliament. And we need to be really, really clear on this, and I think you and I would agree. These people do not represent Brexit voters. These people represent an extreme, thuggish section of society whose aim is simply to cause division and stir up aggression. These people are a divisive element and have nothing to do with the main reasons why people voted for Brexit at all.
Oh, absolutely. I completely agree with you on that. And again, I was very concerned looking at the video that you recorded that they were blocking her route ahead. It's one thing for someone to walk along talking to someone or shouting as they were in the case. It's quite another for them to block her path. And certainly at the point at which she would try to walk forward, and if they were blocking her path, at that point, clearly a criminal offence is being committed. I mean, was there concern that the police weren't stepping in? I mean, if there's one place where you think you would feel safe, it would be around Westminster, where there are dozens upon dozens of not just police but armed police everywhere.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. People have been criticising the police in terms of their handling of this, but I mean during the majority of yesterday, whilst these people were, I mean they spent the whole day doing it. They harassed me, Owen Jones, Anna Soubry, and they were just harassing absolutely everyone they could find. And in fact, one of them even got put into a police van. They were doing it the whole day, and the police were mainly on top of it. And in fact, I actually went up to them and asked them to and thanked them for the work they were doing. It was just in that particular instance where I believe they dropped the ball because especially given that Anna Soubry has already been targeted by that guy James Goddard before. She was, and especially given that they had shouted at her while she was on TV. At that particular moment, it was an issue of heightened risk. And I think there should have been a good degree of police protection around her, especially given that there was warning.
And this is it. I mean, the concerns, and particularly among a lot of female MPs, although we know that the abuse in person and online is happening to men and women in politics, and indeed of all political persuasions as well. This harassment, particularly given the murder of Joe Cox by a far right extremist in the run up to the Brexit vote, has really made a lot of MPs perhaps sit up and take more note of when people are protesting and demonstrating in an aggressive way, that they could be a much more serious risk. Do you think that we are going to have some more limits? Because a lot of people say, well, you know, people have a right to go and shout at their local MP, and I would agree with that. But this did seem to me to cross the line.
Yeah, I think a line does need to be drawn. I mean, having an impassioned debate with your MP is part of democracy. However, going up and surrounding an MP, getting right in their face and shouting at them with the explicit purpose of intimidation and physically blocking their way as they're trying to literally enter their place of work definitely crosses that line.
What do you think about that harassment of Anna Soubry that has sort of gone viral the other day? And also the harassment of Owen Jones, who I must confess I don't agree with very much at all, but the way he was treated was appalling.
That is as nothing, James, as to what I had to put up with every day for years. And did you see one of those people ever springing to my defence? Far from it.
Well, I did.
It's true. They used to call him all those, you know, the Nazi
right,
word and all that.
You guys may have done, but
Yeah.
but the establishment didn't. Look, I think the fact is this. Politicians have to live with abuse, all right? Verbal abuse, politicians should live with and accept, ignore it, laugh it off. So if someone
As
calls
long
you
as
a
it's not
Nazi,
racial.
As
or,
long
you
as
know,
it's not racist
or
and-
homophobic.
No, I accept that. But
exactly.
within reasonable bounds, if you put your head over the parapet to be a public figure, take a bit of stick.
Absolutely. And, you know, if you get trolled on social media, just ignore it.
Tough. It's
Exactly.
tough. It goes with the territory.
Yeah.
I mean, I've had years of it.
But
where it becomes different is where it becomes physical, where it becomes violent, or where it becomes intimidatory. And I thought, you know, shouting out at Soubry, so bloody what? But when they physically menaced her and sort of crowded her out on the street, that was going too far. So what I want the police to do is stop worrying quite so much about what people say. You know, the fact there are 1,000 Metropolitan police officers dealing with hate crime, as you and I now speak.
Yeah.
You know, all right, I know when people say nasty things, it's horrible, but I think we mustn't overreact.
I think I agree totally. Whatever somebody says to me, I couldn't really care less, and I've been like that for years and years, as you know. But once
sticks and stones may
Exactly.
break my bones.
But
You know,
once
words can never hurt me, and I think that's quite important. But what we must make sure is that we do not get this continual thuggery and intimidation that's going on, and it's not just happening in politics; it's actually happening in British universities.
Yeah.
You know, where speakers are being platformed, where, you know, our youngsters are not being exposed to all the views they should be. So a sense of proportion here is really important.